Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice number 3. Before we start, I'm not making an announcement of anything coming up or things I've released. I instead want to say comments I aim at this particular person are aimed at him and him alone. There are going to be some people that take great offense to me abusing somebody because they believe the comments I make at this one really bad person can be transposed onto everyone. To be clear, they are not aimed at anyone else, only the heifer, DxyzD the Hutt, that we are going to be discussing. His full name, for those who want to know, is Abdul Bari, more commonly known by a different name, Shifa al-Nimma. If I've mispronounced, don't care, really don't. He was very recently arrested in Iraq by a SWAT team. Small problem, and actually you could have gotten it from when I mentioned DxyzD the Hutt. The man weighs 40 stone. They couldn't exactly fit him in the back of a police car, so instead they got a pickup truck, because that's how we transport terrorists. In fact, Abdul Bari was an ISIS leader, while he sure as feck wasn't a follower. And also, it was unlikely he'd be able to run. I'm not entirely sure how the man managed to sit up in the way he does. Surely this puts an incredible amount of pressure on his back. We're all warned as children not to slouch. This man is taking liberties, unless of course his back fat is filling the divot between his spine and the corner of the bed and the wall. For those who don't know what 40 stone is, it's 254 kilograms, which is incredible. He is the quarter-ton. I wanted to say prince, but I think I'm going to go with prick instead, because I think it's a better word. I might go with plonker as well. I feel like associating him with plonker would do plonker no favours. Now, Abdul Bari was arrested in Mosul and is considered by the Iraq police to be one of ISIS's senior figures, so capturing him is a bit of a win for the Iraq police and people. I should point out, based on where he was hiding, no one actually knows how he was removed from the hiding place. I had suspected perhaps by crane or rolling him down the stairs, but it's also likely based on his build that he could in fact be waddled down there or pulled on a carpet. Now, for those who want to know who he is fully, he is an ISIS mufti, or expert in religious law. So he is charged with issuing fatwas that would lead to the demise of scholars and clerics who refused to pledge allegiance to the group when it occupied the city. Since the city is being reclaimed, people like him don't really have much of a place within it. During the group's caliphate, as they called it in 2014, he did in fact order the destruction of a mosque built at the site to be the burial place of the biblical prophet Jonah, who once had a notable encounter with a whale, something which I'm almost certain would have triggered quite a few people in Iraq especially. The Iraqi government security services announced this arrest in a statement and said that the preacher, who is considered one of the top leaders of Islamic State's gangs, was known for provocative speeches against the security forces. I've always held the belief that any one person that thinks they have the right to decide who gets to live or die is a terrible person. This man has been proven over time to have issued fatwas which would lead to the demise of people who were, I would believe, to be innocent just because they didn't align with his beliefs. And I've always held the belief that when somebody is judging another person, one must always have a solid leg to stand on. I'm not even going to waste my time letting that joke stew. I'm going to move on. Because his belief system was not universally popular. Now, there are a lot of people who do support the Islamic State. Yes, there is so much divide within the faith and within the countries and interpretations of that faith. There's no arguing on that. But to take your version and decide, oh, I know, it'll be a wizard idea. Let's all live in a dump together, by simply taking society back to a time long before Muhammad, where essentially you look like you live in a crap hole. Oh, and because I'm a senior figure, give me all the pies, make sure they're halal, and can somebody please come by with the loofah to wash my balls? Can someone tell me how a caliphate works where one of the senior figures can barely sit up? I assume his handwriting is just a hoof. Can someone explain to me how the leader of one of the biggest, most powerful, dominant forces that has a paradise in its mind deep down just wants to live in rubble. There's a reason your caliphate failed. Many reasons, in fact. We'll get to those another time. Just because I want to rail on him further, I also want to pull out some of the other things he is known to have partaken in the past. He is one of the most known and prominent architects of the enslavement and sexual exploitation of Yazidi minority women. Can you imagine being the person having to deal with Jabba the Jihadi? And to justify this, he would cite religious texts as a reason and proof that the enslavement of Yazidi girls and women is totally okay. To be clear, you fat prick, it's never okay. He also believed in ethnic cleansing within Iraq, which was the main reason for attacking ethnic minorities in Iraq and enslaving them, because apparently the Yazidi women were considered, after the successful attack in 2014, they were considered the spoils of war. Ah, women are objects. Where have I heard that before? Not okay, not acceptable, and you're the last person who should be lording it over another person since you can barely stand up and get to them. In fact, I would assume to be another person within your rather disgusting group of idiots that more than likely resembles a rancor. I have a curious question, one I think many will more than likely have thought of. For a man that weighs 560 pounds, how does one practice Ramadan? While doing some meditation and soul searching, I decided to go to Reddit, and somebody answered the question for me, saying that this guy was famous for taking Ramadan so seriously he'd lock himself in the kitchen for a whole month. No visitors, no distractions, nothing. With Hijabi the medium-sized hut, I'm very much interested to know what you think of this bulgina. And what do you think the punishment should be for a man that has done what he has done? He's not getting off easy. In fact, I would argue the most brutal and punishing thing they could do to him. And I would say this is not to end his life, because that's just a cop-out. He'd think he's a martyr and it would be absolute nonsense. No, I say send him to a boot camp and see how much of that 40 stone he still wants to hold on to. Reduce his caloric intake to 1500 and see how he really gets on while being made to stand on a treadmill that's moving at a, let's say, 6.0 speed setting for 30 minutes. His balls are going to be so sore. I am almost certain the majority of you could come up with a far better way of sentencing this man, aka Fatwa Bastard, to ensure that he serves the time for what he has done, because I doubt in any sense of the word he'd ever see the outside of a prison if I was in charge. Vote for me. I'm going to start dumping presidential candidacy videos soon. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I wonder if this man was misguided in the sense that he possibly thought ISIS stood for I see, I snack. One does have to wonder. I'm sure many of you can also create far better acronyms and nicknames. Go knucking futs, everyone. Now, there is a new video on Moisky Live, linked below. I'm streaming on Omegon Plays at 8:30 PM GMT, also linked below. So I hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday, and thank you all for listening.